Once upon a time, in one of the prestigious universities in the eastern part of Nigeria, was a very beautiful girl named Amara. Amara was so beautiful and very intelligent that all the boys in her school couldn't take their eyes off her the first time she stepped her foot on campus as a first year student. The boys sometimes made bets on whom they felt would be the lucky guy that would eventually win Amara's heart. All their efforts to get Amara to accept their love advances were always a waste, as Amara was a very ambitious and confident girl who only cared about her books and not boys. One fateful day, a new student who just transferred from another university to Amara's school walked into their classroom during lectures. The new boy was yet to fully settle into the class when the lecturer threw an open complex question to the whole class. There were loud murmurings everywhere as no one knew the right answer to the question. Just as the lecturer was about to leave the class angrily, a deep, unfamiliar baritone voice gave an answer to the teacher's question from the middle of the class with a little spice of joke. It was the new guy. Everyone was surprised as they all started to clap for him. His name was Shegun. Amara was highly impressed, but she quickly left the class for the library after classes, as she never wasted a second after school hours for any unnecessary chit chat with anyone. Shegun saw Amara running off the class while he was exchanging greetings with the other members of the class after classes and wondered who she was. Amara's beauty was one thing that was honestly very hard to miss. Excuse me, please can you help a lost new guy navigate this mysterious world of books? Said Shegun to Amara, where she was picking out some books from the shelf of the school library some days later. That deep baritone voice sounded familiar to Amara because she knew that voice from somewhere. As she turned to see who it was, nothing prepared Amara for that quick sensation that traveled through her body when her eyes met Shegun's eyes. But she somehow managed to stand firm. Hmm, the new smart guy in my class, right? Asked Amara. Yes, the new guy only you refused to welcome to your amazing school, said Shegun. Amara laughed and pointed Shegun to the part of the library shelves where he would find any book he desired in their field of study. Your answer in class on your first day was quite impressive. Keep it up, said Amara to Shegun before walking off to her library desk to start studying. Shegun picked out his desired books and went to Amara's desk, drew out a seat, and sat next to her. For some reasons, what seemed to be a very casual encounter turned into a long, interesting 2 hours conversation for Amara and Shegun. They talked about studies, their dreams, and their mutual love for music. Every topic surprisingly ended in mutual laughter for them. From that day onwards, Amara and Shegun became inseparable. They would meet up early morning every day at the school cafe to have breakfast together before classes. After classes, they would go to the library together to study. Late at night, they would do night studies in their classroom. They both always challenged and supported each other. Shegun loved Amara's sharp mind a lot. The fact that she was not just beautiful but very brilliant always wowed him. Amara, on the other hand, was drawn to Shegun's humor and strong determination in life. Other students on campus soon started envying Shegun and Amara's friendship. Many, especially the boys, wondered how a Yoruba boy who suddenly emerged from nowhere was able to get this close to Amara, whom they've all tried to get to be their woman since their first year in uni, but to no avail. One evening, after an intense study session between Amara and Shegun, Shegun leaned over and said, "Amara, do you know you are the reason I look forward to a new day every day on this campus?" Amara blushed but couldn't hide her smile as she had waited for this moment since the day her eyes locked with Shegun's eyes at the school library. From that day onwards, their friendship blossomed into a deep love affair. Whenever Amara and Shegun strolled past other students on campus, they always noticed a little air of envy and jealousy from them. They would usually laugh it off because to them, all that genuinely mattered to them in the whole world was their little sweet love life. They both believed their love made life on campus amazingly gracious for them. They attended several events together in matching outfits. Amara even started learning how to dance Yoruba traditional dances, and Shegun sometimes proudly wore Igbo attire to some cultural day events. Amara and Shegun's favorite moments were the quiet ones they spent together beneath the mango tree near the school chapel, where they shared dreams of what they wanted their future to be like. Shegun would always tease Amara that he will someday build them a very big house where her bitter leaf soup will coexist happily with his ewedu soup, and they will both laugh and share a passionate kiss. One hot afternoon after lectures, Amara was shocked to see her staunch traditional father outside her classroom waiting for her. Amara's father angrily ordered Amara to enter his car and drove off the campus. That scene was a spectacle to behold, as the tale of that lingered on the lips of every student on their campus for a very long time. It happened that one of the boys on campus, who wanted Amara so bad but couldn't have her, secretly informed Amara's parents that Amara was frolicking about campus with a Yoruba boy and was no longer concentrating on her studies. Amara's father, who was a core Igbo traditionalist and worked so hard to send his children to school, was so devastated over that news. He wasn't just angry that Amara was frolicking around the campus with a boy, but with a Yoruba boy. Alo! He thundered to a tear-filled Amara when they got home. Who will marry you when you leave that school, Nwatakelia? Amara wept bitterly that night. She couldn't sleep as her heart missed Shegun so much, while she wondered what will happen next to her. Shegun, on the other hand, was so restless on campus as he found it really hard to understand why Amara's father behaved the way he did to Amara on that day. Other boys on campus mocked Shegun loudly to his face, teasing him that he felt he had 20 heads to come all the way from Yoruba land and steal their beautiful maiden. Shegun was so devastated. After a few weeks with no sign of Amara anywhere and her phones were switched off, Shegun decided to do the unthinkable. He visited Amara's home one morning with notebooks for her to catch up on what she's been missing in school. Amara was so happy when she saw Shegun from her room window, but was extremely terrified that she couldn't come outside. Amara's father angrily released his dogs on Shegun to chase him off his property. Amara cried out loudly, "He only came to bring me notes, Daddy." Her voice was shut up with a thunderous slap on her face by her father. Amara was now like a prisoner in her own father's home. Her father said she will only be allowed to go back to school when they find her a suitable Igbo husband, so as to avoid her ever repeating the abominable acts she and Shegun were committing on campus. Amara, who was so heartbroken, would sometimes in her spare time use her mother's sewing machine to patch the torn clothes in their home just to stay busy. Meanwhile, Shegun was starting to lose concentration in school over everything that was happening. What Amara's father did to him the last time he went to her place greatly traumatized him. The taunts he was equally receiving from some students on campus over his predicament soon started taking a huge toll on his health. So he decided to take a little break from everything and go home. Shegun lamented his ordeals on campus to his mother, who single-handedly raised Shegun and his brother after their father passed on in their early teenage years. Shegun's mother was not so pleased with Shegun, as she equally wanted her son to marry a well-mannered Yoruba girl when he graduates from the university. She, however, told Shegun that it seemed history wanted to repeat itself, but in a different way this time. It happened that in the past, Shegun's mom and dad experienced the same thing when they wanted to get married, despite being Yorubas. Shegun's mom was from Lagos State, while his dad was from Ekiti State. "I will teach you a few of the tricks your father used in our time, my son," said Shegun's mom to Shegun with a smirk on her face. Meanwhile, back in the east, none of the many suitors who were arranged for Amara for marriage by her father tickled her fancy. All Amara's heart yearned for and wanted was Shegun. One beautiful morning, Amara's entire family woke up to see a stranger in their compound, happily washing their father's car. That stranger was Shegun. That act by Shegun amused every member of Amara's family except her father, who quickly chased Shegun off his home with a cutlass. Amara cried so hard that day again. She couldn't understand why her father was being so mean and cruel to Shegun. "Don't you think you're being so hard on these children?" said Amara's mother to her husband that day after dinner. Amara's father was so surprised to hear those words from his wife, but he said nothing to her. Shegun went on to try a few more tricks to see if he could win over Amara's father's heart, ranging from learning how to speak Igbo to calling Amara's father's phone to try and communicate with him in Igbo language, to buying Amara's father some Igbo gifts that were befitting for a chief, and even making more visits to plead with chief face to face to allow him be with Amara. After all his efforts proved abortive, Shegun decided to face his studies squarely, as their final year exams was starting to draw close and he couldn't afford to fail. He was, however, still determined in his heart that he would someday win over Amara's father's heart. One late evening, as Amara's father was returning home from work, he had a flat tire. This put him in great distress as he wasn't feeling too well to change the tires to his spare. His mechanic's phone number was not going through either. While Amara's father paced up and down in great confusion, a voice came from behind and offered to help him. It was Shegun. Amara's father was completely powerless at this point, so he let Shegun help him fix his car. He drove to somewhere quiet with Shegun, bought Shegun a drink, and had a deep father and son conversation with Shegun. It happened that Amara's father was fully aware of Shegun's love for his daughter, but he just didn't want his daughter to marry from a different tribe where they may end up treating her badly, as he loved his children so much and could die for them. Amara, who had been studying hard secretly with the lecture materials Shegun was sending her through emails, returned to school after that day. She was so happy to be in school again and write her final exams with her classmates. On the day they wrote their final papers, Shegun went down on one knee before all their classmates and asked Amara to be his wife. Everyone was pleasantly surprised as they all started to clap when Amara said yes to Shegun's proposal. Amara and Shegun's wedding was a grand celebration of love and unity. They went on to build a happy life together that honored their different cultures, as well as raised their children to embrace both heritages. This is the end of my story. The moral of this story is that we should all shun all forms of tribalism from our lives, as love, we all know, knows no tribe, race, color, or religion. It is a beautiful thing that deserves a free flow always in our lives, irrespective of where we find it. Thank you for watching.